Hello everyone. Syra here. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I have something a little special. It is a reveal of, I think it's called Hero Arts, my monthly Hero Arts card kit, and it is a Christmas one. I don't know if it's for a particular month, but this was actually gifted to me. And so, first off, I just want to express my gratitude to the person who gifted this to me. It was extremely kind of them. Um, I've never played with this card kit before, so being gifted something to try is just beyond words. It's not something that I expect, and when it happens, it just feels really good, and so much so that I am thinking of how can I do something in return. And it's not that I feel that just because I got something nice that now I have to return the favor. It's not a thing like that. I don't believe in that. I believe that if you are to gift, then you gift because you want to, and there's nothing that should be returned. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose. But what I liked about it is that the amount of feeling that I got when I received the package was so immense, so much love, so much gratitude, so much of everything that I feel if other people could feel that as well, then that is something that I can gift. And so I haven't figured out what I want to do, but definitely passing it along is something that resonates very well with me. And so I am going to spend time figuring that out. But anyways, once again, thank you so much to the person who sent this. Very happy with this. So I'm just going to do a quick reveal, and then I'm going to stitch the video together to show you the cards or the creations that I'm making. But for now, let's move forward and show you what's in this card kit. It does come with 7 sheets of paper, so it's going to be almost perfect for card bases because they are 5.5 by 8.5. So you just fold them right in the middle, and then you got an A2 size card. And it comes in almost like this Bordeaux color. 2 reds, one's much brighter, an orange, midnight blue, a midnight green, and caramel. I don't know what the names of these colors actually are. Those are just the names I'm giving them. But it's very elegant, very rich, deep color scheme that you get with this. You do get a little jar of Prisma glitter. You can't have Christmas without white glitter, that is for certain. And the thing I love about this, and if you've ever lived in a climate where it snows quite a bit, and then it's undisturbed, and in the winter, and it freezes overnight, and in the morning when you're walking, the sun's shining on it, you get this beautiful iridescent color that sparkles just like that. And I have lots of memories of that, and so it triggered it once I opened it up. The next thing you get are acetate sheets. I believe there are 6 in here. I didn't open, I'm just looking at the reference, and they are an A2 size, I believe. So it's going to be 5.5 by 4.25. And you get 6 of those. So I guess you could create shaker cards, but unless you're going to use glitter and this kit only, there's nothing else that you can put in there. You do get the stamp set, so this is very common with Hero Arts, is their big stamp set of all the little images, and so I'm very excited to give this a try. I'm thinking about trying to use watercolors for this, see how that goes, but I really want to see what it looks like with all these. But you get all these little elements that you can create a perfect scene with. And of course, then you get the die that matches all the pieces in here so that you can cut them out after coloring them. As well as you get this huge stamp, die of a window, like a grand window. And it will cut out the windows and everything. And then of course, then you get the outline die. So if you wanted to cut the whole thing out. So that is really cool. So I can't wait to play with that. So that's everything in this card kit. It is very different from the other ones that I work with, mainly because you're focusing on small images and dies. So I'm very excited to give this one a try. So once again, thank you so much for the gift. Really, really, really appreciate it. No words could ever express how I feel without just diminishing the the, the, the meaning of it. But definitely very happy. And and I'm going to start working on these cards as soon as I can. And then I will stitch this video all into one, so it is a reveal and showing of cards. So let's start looking at card number 1. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in and use this big, huge, fancy die. I just really love this. I've never had a die that was so detailed. It did get stuck a bit. I had to figure out how to cut it properly. I think the best way for me to cut it was to flip it upside down when I put it through my die cutting machine. But yeah, I really love this die. I had a lot of fun making this card, and I was very excited to just use it. Once I was finished with my reveal, this is the piece that I wanted to play with the most. To go with that, I should say that after the reveal and the making of these cards, there was a long time in between. I received this card kit much earlier. It's just time was just getting by me. And then, of course, then I wanted to quickly do my Kendra card challenge, which you can check the video if you're interested. And that was a Halloween/fall. So it kind of went on delay. I'm a little bit behind on a lot of things, but I just didn't want to rush this kit. This kit was a lot of fun to play with. It's something I've never really had a chance with before. It's different than Simon Says and Spellbinders and all the other ones that I've tried. It's just another fun kit, and you definitely need to use your imagination. At least that's what I felt. You can just use the pieces and make scenes. That is perfectly fine, and you can just make a lot of them because all those pieces will make scenes. But I found that I really need to use my imagination to do more than just that. So that being said, I am going to do some inking, distress inking. This is, I believe, Aged Mahogany, mustard yellow, and then I'm going to put some black soot. And what I'm trying to create is a very soft, comfortable interior, as if you were looking through a window and you're just seeing the lights behind the Christmas tree, and it's just this really cozy, comfy color. And some Aged Mahogany definitely worked really well with this. I was very, very happy. I don't ink very often. I don't know why. I just don't. I guess I have no reason or why I don't. But when I do, I have a lot of fun with it. And this one definitely is. I just love that transition, that bright yellow into the Aged Mahogany, and then blend it with the black. Of course, my black is not an oxide, so it doesn't blend as smoothly, but then again, it also will not oxidize. So it won't get that white overlay on it like the Aged Mahogany will. You won't actually see most of the black because when I put that window pane down, it's going to cover most of it. But you just do it because you don't want to take the chance of seeing any white. And I really want to make it dark. I did spritz it. My camera went glitchy, so I had to cut that footage out. But you can see the speckles on the paper. It's very subtle. I used a spritz bottle and just dabbed it with a towel to remove it. The tree I did color off camera, and that was with watercolors. It takes a long time for me to color, so I don't put them in these 5 videos. If you are interested in me coloring, definitely leave a comment. I can definitely create videos of me coloring, but it does take me time. But I did use my watercolors, and then I used a little bit of ink around the halo of the angel and the candles just to give a little bit of a glow. So the acetate's on behind. That creates this glass effect. And then now it looks like you're looking through the window at a Christmas tree in a nice, beautiful, soft interior. To finish off, I am going to use the Merry Christmas. I realized that it fits perfectly, that little center there on top of the window. And so I just put Merry Christmas. The other option you can do is Happy Holidays. They both fit there very nicely, and it's the same font. This is Platinum embossing powder. I got it last year at Black Friday. It was in a mystery box, and so I'm finally using it almost a year later. To finish off, I'm going to frost the windows just as if you were looking from the outside. And it's just going to be a little bit of that glitter, snow glitter, that's what I'm going to call it, but it's the Prisma glitter. And that will just give it a little bit of a sparkle when you shake it. I'm not going to put too much on. I mean, this is already bad enough because the acetate does have static attached to it. So off camera, I do need to brush it off, but no point showing that on cameras, but you definitely need to do that if you're going to do something like that. I really liked how this card turned out. Really beautiful, really nice. Okay, card number 2, I'm going to create a nice simple one using this almost like burgundy wine type color cardstock. And I have watercolored this little horse, rocking horse, and then I used the dies to cut him. I really like how this rocking horse turned out. These images are just a lot of fun to work with, and they're so small that you can just pump them out. You can create so many in such a small amount of time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, we can't see it because it's a little bit off camera, sorry about that. I am going to take one of the sentiments from the stamp set and position it just underneath the rocking horse. And I'm going to use a distressed oxide, which I rarely, if ever, use. It's just not an ink that I use for stamping, but aged mahogany works really well with the cardstock that I had chosen for my matte layer. And even though it is an oxide, so it will oxidize, it will have that white film, in the end, it still looked really nice. And you'll see that at the end of the video when I do the reveal, after it's been a couple of days and it has had time to react. But right now, if I had the regular distress ink, it would probably be similar to that color, which would have been perfect, but it's okay. You still get that nice color that matches very well. And as you can see, I did cut these bases in half because I didn't want to make card bases with them. This allowed me to create more cards with the matte layers. I don't know, I usually just stick with my card bases. I'm happy with the strength of my bases, and then so I'm okay with just cutting these up. You definitely can create the card out of the cardstock that was given to you. Your choice. It doesn't really matter. It will be just as beautiful either way. Now I'm just playing around with the placement, seeing if I can use any of my other colored elements. So off camera, I did color a bunch of these little elements. Just, you never know when you want to use them, so it's better to just color them all and then play with it and see what you want to do. So that's what I'm doing, is playing around with all these little pieces that I colored. But I stick to my guns with my original idea, and that's just the rocking horse. That rocking horse and that font, Merry Christmas, it just looks really, really, really nice. Really sharp. I just love how simple and beautiful this card is. Of course, it is very hard to keep a simple card simple because we keep wanting to add more to it. But I stopped immediately after I put this horse down and did not want to touch it any further. And there we go. Just love a little horse. I could add some shimmer to it maybe. A shimmer pen. Okay, card number 3. This is where I'm starting to get a little creative. There's a bunch of little elements in the stamp set, and I wanted to figure out how I can use it. So I decided that I would just create my own background using the star as one of them. I'm going to heat emboss these stars. So what I'm doing is I'm going to randomly place the star stamp all over the paper, making sure that I go off the edge and all over, because you want to make it look like it's natural. It's not just purposely centered. And then I'm going to coat it with some glitter silver. This also I got last year on a Black Friday sale. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing with the exact same stamp, going all over, making sure I go off the edge and everywhere else, and use a Nuvo, a different color. It's a blue by Nuvo. What color is that? It is called Blue Odyssey. If you're interested in getting that, that is the color. It's a beautiful, beautiful blue. And I'm just going to go over that and finish the rest of it and heat set that. Next, I'm going to take my Pink Fresh inks and I'm going to do Seaside and Summer Shower. And I'm going to use these little flourishes and just randomly fill in. I say randomly because I'm not thinking about it. I just stamp and ink and stamp, but without thinking too much about it. Just filling in the spaces with the two different colors. I can't remember what kind of cardstock this is, but I do notice that the ink did get kind of sucked into the paper, so it wasn't a very crisp image. But in the end, you don't really notice it because I'm going to make a shaker out of this. Surprise! You're going to see a shaker out of it. You won't see the details too much. But there's so much you can do. You could ink it. You can do so much with these backgrounds, but I decided to keep it a little simple with just embossing, ink, and then to finish it off, I'm going to add some watercolor. Once again, this is not watercolor paper, so that watercolor, once it splatters on, it will soak right in. You'll almost see it immediately. These circles turn into blobs. Like, it gets soaked right in. So I'm not really sure what kind of paper this is. It might be Neenah Solar Crest 80-pound cardstock or something like that. And also you'll notice that it distorts the color. It's supposed to be blue, but these dots are kind of looking grayish. But it doesn't look bad enough to start over. Let's put it that way, because we have so many different shades. We have silvers and blues and different colors. You won't really notice it that much once the whole card is put together. I'm going to take another one of these pieces of acetate, a lot of fun, and I'm going to glue it to the back of this frame. This piece of paper is just some silver cardstock that I got from Michaels. It's the matte, it's not shiny or shimmery. And it just looks really nice with this blue and other colors that I chose. I'm going to put that acetate down, making sure that I don't move it because I don't want that glue to seep out. Of course, if the glue does seep out, you can always just take a little pick and just pick it off before it settles and dries. For this card, I chose the Midnight Blue. That's what I'm calling it. I'm not sure what their colors are called. And I'll use that as my matte. It looks really, really sharp with the blues. Of the blue shades, the dark blues are my favorite. They just work so well, especially when they're really close to being black. And then I'm going to glue this right in the center. I will say, as I'm doing this, I'm going to start chit-chatting. Shaker cards are not easy for me. I never seem to nail it. There's always something that gets stuck, and this was of no exception. I have tried doing double layer, and then the sequence would get stuck to the different layers because I didn't layer them in good enough. And then so I started doing just a single layer, and then that's when I noticed that sequences just get stuck. So maybe that's just what shaker cards do. They just get jammed. I don't know. If that's the case, that I'm doing a bang-up job. If not, then I need to figure out maybe putting less sequence, or I'm not sure. I've watched people make them. They seem very simple when they're making them, and then when I go to do it, I run into problems. So I left a lot of it into the videos so you guys can watch and let me know what I'm doing wrong, and maybe provide some tips on how to do a better job. But I am using some single layered foam adhesive that I got from a Simon Says card kit earlier this year. I figured this was meant to be for shaker cards, so it could not go wrong. The only thing I can think of is that I used too many sequins, but as you can see, I had such little left in the baggies that I didn't want to leave it in the bag. So I'm like, I'll just throw it on there, whatever. I just want to empty them. I have so many little baggies of sequences, and never get a chance to use them. So I just wanted to throw it in there, and potentially that is the problem. But I thought this is a huge window, so there should be surely enough room for all these sequins to move around. So I did add the anti-static because I wanted to make sure that it wouldn't stick. And now I'm just going to move it around, spread it out so that it's nice and level, because I don't want it to jam at the very beginning. That's always the worst thing, is when you put that thing, take out the tape off, you put it down, and it jams. I did that once. It was just one big blob right in the center. It was so jammed and stuck that I had to peel it off, and you do not want to peel it off because everything goes everywhere. And you see how quickly I went off camera? I made a mistake. I did something wrong, and that's exactly what happened. They started to pour out, and I had to fix it. So I cut that all of the video, but I definitely spent a good 10 minutes fussying with that. But sometimes we just can't leave that in there just to make the video nice and short. However, it would be awesome for bloopers if I were to make a blooper scenes video. Once again, just like the first card, I am going to add some snow, quote unquote, to my card. It's going to be using that Prisma glitter. Of course, it is very staticky. I knew that was going to happen, but I did it anyways. All you have to do in this case is just use your finger to take it off, or a brush, or whatever. Off camera, I did color another tree, this one using my Prisma Colors pencil crayons. And I just colored it with the blues and silvers that kind of matched the rest of the card. And I just I used the dies to cut that out. And I'm just going to glue that right in the center. And this will tie it all together with, I just felt that I should say, not all together. I felt like the background was a little too much to be left alone with just a sentiment. So I decided to quickly color one of these trees so that I can cover a majority of the, and then you have a nice kind of like a transition layer and such to the card. I didn't find a spot that I want to put the sentiment, so I am going to put it in the center, or inside the card in the center. I rarely ever do this because I like people to have room to write their messages. But when you don't have room, then this is the best place to put it. So there we go. Shaky, shaky. Okay, card number 4. I was just playing around. I was thinking about doing some ink smooshing, but I decided I just would use some watercolors and just create a very basic background. The reason for this, and it's not really something that matters, but the reason I did it was because I have a hard time with making large backgrounds with watercolor, like filling them in. So I wanted to practice. I want to figure out, how do you just fill in a background? Like if you have a sky, how do you fill it in so that it looks good with so much space to fill in? Because normally when I'm coloring, it's such a small area that you can just use a small little brush and fill it in. So I was trying to practice that, and I chose 2 colors, this green and brown. It's kind of the indoor of someone's house, the wall and the carpet or the wooden floor. I could have easily added like wood grain to the floor, adding paintings to the wall, but I wanted to keep it very blurred. I don't want it to take away from the images that I spent time coloring, at least not for this card. Anyways, yeah, so that's the gist of why it looks so like that. I'm trying to learn how to watercolor large areas. I'm not overly happy with it, but I'm not unhappy with it because you know, you don't just know how to do something unless, of course, you're naturally talented, then it just comes to you. But that's not me, and so I'm happy with every attempt that I make. Now I'm just gluing all these little pieces. I did color all of these off camera with my watercolors, and I'm just gluing and making a nice little scene for Christmas. Of course, some of these are quite elaborate, like the candle, but really cute. I did color another piece. Oh, what was it? It was like a bowl of fruit and such, but I never ended up using it. I was really happy with how it turned, so I just kept it in my card kit zipper pouch, and I'll use it some other time. There was a little space there, so I put that little pear and some walnuts, I think they were, and filled the table with some goodies. I am going to use those presents on the side. I'm just going to prop them up with some foam tape just to give it a little more dimension. Because this is watercolor paper that has been saturated with water and it is warped, I am going to use some double-sided tape. I really wish I didn't do it this way, in the sense, let me say that again. I really wish I only took off one side of the tape so that I could position it better before I fit it down. And as you can see, I think it's 2 or 3 times in a row, I have to keep picking it up and tearing the card because I just keep putting it down incorrectly. And so there's 2 ways that I think I've seen this happen. One is using double-sided tape and adhesive, liquid adhesive, so that it can move and not get stuck right away, but then when it dries and sets, it's perfect. Or you just take one side of the paper stickiness off and position it and then flatten it and then take the other sides off. And that's what I usually prefer to do. I just keep forgetting to do it. So I usually ruin a lot of card bases because I'm always trying to lift it. In most cases, it's okay because it's a matte. So if it rips, you're not going to see it anyways. Very rare that the paper will rip along the border and then you have to start over. To finish this card, I'm going to glue it down to my card base, and then I'm going to put the sentiment, "Sending an abundance of joy." I love that font, I love that sentiment, and it's going to fit right perfectly between that table and the Christmas tree with the presents. I'm just going to use some VersaMark ink in the black. You just got to be careful because that does stay wet. And there we go. Love it. Okay, my final card, I decided to try to color something using my own creativity. It's a little messy, but I actually liked how it turned out. The tree is stamped, but the rest of it is drawn and colored with my Prismacolor markers. The problem was, I was actually going to use watercolors. So I did it on some watercolor paper, and then I decided to use my pencil crayons. So I could not get a very good color saturation because the teeth on the paper, it's so thick that the paper will get waxy before you could even fill it in. And you can see in the sky that black and blue, that you can still see the white, and that's what it is. But I'm very happy with this, and I used some alcohol markers to add some Christmas lights on the top of the buildings, just to make it a little more Christmassy, and then added the toy sign for some fun. For the mats, I am using some white cardstock, and then that really dark midnight green cardstock as the final mat, and it just looks really nice, almost like a picture in a frame. Very simple card. The only thing that took long was coloring it. I actually colored it while watching a friend doing her coloring the other night. So I was able to do that at the same time. Once again, there is no room for my sentiments, so I will do it on the inside using the same ink, and this one says Happy Holidays. And I'll put that right in the center of the card. Once again, be very, very careful when you're using VersaMark ink because it is very wet, so don't close the lid if you're doing this. The only reason I use this ink is because it's always crisp. Okay, so that is my 5 cards using this kit. I will just slowly move in and show you all the different details of each card, just so you can have a better look at it. Thank you so much for joining me. I had a lot of fun working with this card and just thinking of different ways of creating cards with just this simple die set and stamps. I hope this has created some inspiration. I know that it's a little late. I believe this is the October 2021 card kit. But if you do have the kit and you haven't played around with it yet, I hope this has given you some ideas of what you could do and maybe even improve on any designs that I have created. I also would like to take the time to once again thank the gifter of this card kit to me. Much love and gratitude. Thank you so much. And that goes out to everyone. Please remember to be kind to one another, love each other, and we should all just be patient and enjoy everyone's company and time. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and then I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.